Welcome back to the Business Enhancement Series presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company. Since a good portion of any business's success is dependent on communications, this section discusses mechanisms to improve customer communications in all stages of the customer-vendor relationship. So we just finished talking about developing systems to support a more consistent and effective customer experience. One area where this will really pay off is in customer communications. Let's take a look at how we can be more effective and efficient when we reach out to the customer. Start thinking about how much of your time and effort is spent in communication with various parties associated with a given project. Who might you need to be in contact with during the course of an energy efficiency project? From the initial cold call referral to the final post-completion follow-up call. We've talked about this before. You have your prospects, your staff, your customers, your past customers, strategic partners, subcontractors, decision makers. That's a lot of communication. This probably makes up a good portion of the day. So where are the possible touch points? Starting with decision makers. Well, you've got your initial contact, so the cold call or the referral. You've got a sales meeting. You've got the follow-up call. You've got proposal preparation, proposal delivery, approval, denial, and then, of course, reporting. So through all that, what do they need to hear? According to Seth Godin, attention is a valuable commodity today, so don't waste the attention they're willing to spend on you. Always ask yourself, why are you having this conversation? What do they need to know? And what level of detail do they even want? This is something that should be established early in the relationship. How frequently should you provide communications? What details should you include? Who else should be included? Are there others who should be receiving this information at a different level? You should have established preferred procedures so that if they don't have a system of their own, you can provide them with one that you usually use. For example, ordinarily for someone at your level, we'd provide an executive summary once a week with more detailed reports quarterly. And then think about what information they actually want to know. They want to know the project status. They want to know the costs. They want to know the expected benefits, the change in their procedures caused by infrastructure changes due to the energy efficiency upgrades, and etc. Remember, if you're not giving them enough information or if you're giving them too much, you're wasting their time. Also, be aware of the mechanisms for communications they prefer. Do they like texting? Well, you can't really send a multi-page document through text. But if it's not in a format that they want, they're less likely to consume it. Do they want a phone call? Do they want to meet in person? Email, a PDF, a hard copy? Find out how they want to get the information so you're not wasting their time. When presenting to the decision maker, the titles involved don't really matter as much as you'd think. Following some basic rules will help you make the process go more smoothly. Of course, first and foremost, you should look and behave like a professional. Dress appropriately for the occasion. Be aware of the culture before you walk in. Ask your champion for details such as dress code, language, etc. Now some do's and don'ts. Do ask questions. You need to understand their particular issues. If you try to diagnose their problem without some examination of what they're dealing with, you're not likely to be a good fit. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, right? If you prescribe your solution before they're sure it's a good fit, they're just going to push back and they're going to give you many, many more objections. So again, don't waste their time. Don't ask questions where you could find the answers out elsewhere. For residential, it's not as much of an issue, but you should know what restrictions on construction are in the neighborhood. Basically, they probably wouldn't know this anyways. For commercial and industrial, you should know what the company actually does, what the person you're talking to does, what their title is, how many people they have on staff, where they're located. In short, you can find this stuff on Google. Don't waste their time asking it during the presentation. Take time to understand exactly what all the issues and pains are that are a priority for them. Only after you've determined their specific problems should you start recommending solutions. Make sure you're answering all of their issues. And when you're questioning them about those issues, you should be taking notes so you can refer back to them later. Whether you need to take notes or not, clients like to see you taking notes. And don't jump to sell your product. Of course, you're going to mention your product solutions, but this isn't the time for the hard sell. This is the time to forge the relationship. That will tell you if you can solve their problem. They have to trust you enough to tell you what the problem actually is. Because if you immediately try to sell them, it violates that trust. They begin to suspect that the sale is more important than steering them correctly. It's important to over-prepare for your meeting. You need to be able to answer any questions they might have and do it smoothly without hesitation. I don't know isn't bad as long as you follow up with, but I'll find out for you. And don't give them too much detail. No one needs to know how the sausage is made. You shouldn't give them information that they don't really need unless they're actually asking for it. Don't give them solutions to problems that you don't know they have yet. One sale at a time. Plus, if you confuse them with too much information, they're just going to say no. So what items are you actually going to need? Well, physically, what materials do you need? Well, you need a number to call. You need a phone. You need a notebook, pen, computer, right? Organizationally, who's involved in the meeting? Well, you, the prospect. Is there anyone else that's just going to show up? A gatekeeper, a purchasing agent, a plant manager, someone in financing? What about the process? What are you going to do? Some things may end up going back and feeding back to the physical side of things, but you got to call them, use your script, you've got to schedule that appointment, you've got to confirm the appointment, meet with the prospect. Do we have a checklist for meeting with the prospect? Then we got to create that proposal and the estimate. Do we have a form for this? Then we've got to get the approval from the client and schedule the work. From a communication aspect, well, we have to call them, meet with them, consult with your team, and contact the stakeholders. See how a lot of these fit together as part of your communication plan. So here are some ideas on how you can create tools for your communications, and that'll make those communications more likely to achieve your desired results. For every email you send out, ask yourself if you'll be sending out a similar email in the future. Are we duplicating work from customer to customer? We do a lot of the same things for two different customers. Can we make that process more efficient? Similarly, if you're just making a phone call, will you be making a similar phone call again? If so, try to record what you're saying so you can make a script that you can use next time. For meetings, you usually want to accomplish certain tasks or get particular information. Why not create a checklist of those tasks or pieces of information? Don't walk away from a meeting wondering if the meeting was successful. You should know the answer to that. And of course, for your proposals and estimates, they're almost all boilerplate. Save your effort for the 10 to 20% of the proposal that's new and use previous proposal information to build. What about communication after the fact? This is where most professionals fail. They assume the communication is over because the job's done. Bad idea. You want to stay in contact, well, for a bunch of reasons. One, they already know you. You don't have to sell yourself again if they have more work for you. They have networks of their own. So undoubtedly, there are people in those networks are looking for your services. It helps you stay top of mind with those people who might be able to pass your name along. And be their advisor. If they need help, even if we can't provide it, we can pass along the name of someone who we know that can help them. So if we want these types of things, one of our communication systems has to be post-project contact. But how do you make post-project contact without being annoying? Well, maybe a newsletter with short tips. This is usually best for residential, as homeowners tend to want to know more about their homes and how to make them work better. Maybe you create a list of the most common questions you have to answer on a regular basis. Answer one with each newsletter. Maybe you write about new technologies that are coming out. But avoid advertising yourself. Remember, they've already bought from you. This is just a means to help them remember you on a regular basis. You could feature your best clients on your website. This is great with corporate, but can also be used with residential. Could be pictures of before and after job sites, could be horror stories that ended up as happily ever afters, interviews or testimonials with customers. If you feature them, they're often going to feature you in conversation with their contacts. Maybe you do a series of follow-up phone calls or emails. This works for both residential or corporate, but the call should have a reason, maybe tips on specific maintenance issues that they should be aware of. Follow-up interviews on any problems they might be experiencing. It's better to wow them to make it right than just have them resent you silently. Problems also might lead to additional paid work for you or for your networking connections. No matter what, these connections should be about providing them value with no expectation of immediate return. If you try to sell them, you're going to alienate them. In the next section, we're going to talk about making appointments, not just for sales meetings, but for service delivery, for maintenance visits. What makes for a good appointment? As the Business Enhancement series presented by Efficiency United and Semco Energy Gas Company continues. Click the next section entitled Making Appointments.